which is a bit weird for the DLC characters for Smash Ultimate. A lot of them, you know, they start off kind of, I'm not too sure how good this character's going to be, but they end up being better than anticipated. But, of course, game one, starting off in our losers' quarters, first set, Super Striker versus Selkie.
Yeah, and of course, Super Striker himself, not a slouch at all, doing so very well in the Smash World Tour qualifiers too, representing Belgium, a country that's not on the map either. So both of these players just kind of like representing these lesser-known European countries, and I'm here for it. I'm here for it. Super Striker so far at a small deficit, and Selkie really showing that Mythra's speed does a lot in this matchup, whereas Sonic normally gets most of his neutral wins from his superior speed, allowing him to position way better than his opponent can. If you're playing Mythra, like speed is never an issue, right? Speed is never an issue for Mythra. And then of course the Pyra switch when you get that advantage, switching back to Mythra when the resources are burned, just to continue that advantage. Make sure that if the neutral reset happens, you hold on to pressure. I like how fast-paced these switches are by Selkie.
Yeah, not really giving Super Striker any opportunity to get his own momentum started. Finally finds an opening with a homing attack. Big F smash, going to whiff, and now we see Selkie already looking for that down edge, trying to get those combos. Switches back to Mythra, knowing that, you know, back into neutral. Got plenty of room to work with on Town and City, just looking for a little bit of an opening. Nice photon edge to interrupt the spin dash.
That's kind of brilliant. I'm not gonna lie. I did not see that coming at all. But very smart using that lasting nature of the photon edge for a big reward too, because that move does damage. And now Pyra out here trying to end the stock. There's the downer. It's the sweet spot. Unfortunately, tries to juggle with the blazing end, but Super Strike, a little bit of a mix-up, drifted in instead, got himself in a bad situation afterwards, and now Selkie with a big lead. And that's exactly what you want against Sonic. You want those big leads, because if Sonic gets the lead, God knows it's not going to be pretty. Right now, though, very solid game by Selkie. Super Striker fighting his way back in, 81%. And this is where we get into one of Sonic's main weaknesses, right? Even though Sonic, very good at winning neutral, very good at wrecking the damage, can struggle to find that final kill. This back air might be big because he caught the jump. Now Selkie can no longer recover, and that is a weakness getting compensated by the opponent having basically the weakness that is polar opposite, right? So whereas Sonic doesn't really kill well, if the opponent doesn't have a good recovery, you can compensate for that quite easily.
Yeah, and Pyra and Mythra, neither of them having particularly strong recoveries. Pyra being very, very linear. Of course, she can cover her recovery with that blazing end, but, you know, only having the up B to recover. Meanwhile, Mythra recovers in kind of very linear lines, so it's definitely easy to intercept them.
And if you get one of those spin shots into back air, sniping out that jump, that is exactly what you want. Selkie using the air dash to get back to center stage. Staying in Pyra for a long time here, fighting the blazing end, really intercepting that spin dash neutral by Super Striker. Super Striker staying so patient, waiting for the YOLO up B and punishing it from the side platform, and now he has total control. And look at the turnaround here. We went from a very, very solid lead by Selkie to all but an even game, even a slight lead right here for Super Striker, and he's looking to extend it. The juggle coming out, again, waiting for a swing, and I like the patience by Super Striker. He waits for the up B when Pyra is out. He waits for the neutral B as a landing mix-up. He tries to wait for the blazing end, a little bit harder to deal with that move at times, and so far that patience has been working out so well, and that's how you want to play against Pyra in my opinion. You want to wait for her to go first. She's safe on shield, but because of her shield damage, not really because of her frame data, and through that with punishing, probably the best way to get those neutral wins on Pyra. Ooh.
Yeah, when you're playing a character with Sonic's mobility, with that ground speed, you know, obviously he's so good at those long range with punishes, and Pyra really needs to take a lot of these calculated risks in order to find the KO. This is an ideal kind of range to get the KO. Flame Nova not quite enough with that level of charge, but the aerial's going to take the stock, and Selkie keeping this as close as possible.
Yeah, and I really want to see Selkie not fishing. I'm not saying fishing, but he is forcing the kill in neutral, right? He is picking that Pyra. He is trying to find that kill in neutral. Whereas Pyra, her neutral just isn't the greatest, especially against a character like Sonic. You generally just want to get the neutral win with Mythra, switch to Pyra. If it doesn't work out, go back to Mythra and kind of take it from there. But so far, Super Striker just not letting his opponent breathe, taking so much space with those spin dashes, with those rising forward airs, intercepting jumps, and Selkie can find some mix-ups to get out of this advantage, but not before taking quite a few hits. And that is the most important thing. Super Striker just consistently weaving around Pyra's hitboxes.
Yeah, and you can see Selkie trying to be proactive with these side Bs, both with Pyra and Mythra, to preemptively intercept these spin dashes. Offstage situation, real tough for Selkie. Barely manages to make it back, tries to call out with the blazing end, but doesn't find the mark. And the back air from in front, still not enough. Pyra having a little bit of extra weight versus Mythra, able to just about survive. And now you're having to deal with a rage. Pyra, one down air, will get the KO. He has to watch out for that.
Pyra's carrying these percents, but at the same time, exactly what we talked about. If you just wait for her to go first, she gets a lot less carry, ladies and gentlemen. And right now, Super Striker using the most of his patience, just waiting for Pyra. Just throw those hitboxes, I don't care. At a certain point, you're going to overextend, and there's the backer, that interception, just like you said, Virum, making sure that Pyra has no room to set up her slower hitboxes. And Super Striker, from quite a deficit in stock 1, just making the turnaround happen, up 1-0.
Yeah, when you're having to commit so heavily to a lot of these blazing ends versus a character with sonic speed, we saw a lot in that game. Super Striker was simply dashing back out of range or simply standing outside of the range of that blazing end and then looking for those opportunities to close the gap, apply that pressure to Pyra while she doesn't have the shield, because obviously her options are limited. She can't attack you, she can't grab you, she just has to kind of sit and wait or shield or roll, jump, something evasive and defensive. And in doing so, she forfeits a lot of that control, she forfeits a lot of that stage position, and that gives Super Striker the opportunity to strike. And we saw that a lot throughout that game.
Yeah, and one thing that you highlight that I just wanna accentuate a little bit, because I think a big difference between the way the masses look at Sonic versus how, like, I personally look at Sonic is that a lot of people think about Sonic speed as evading the opponent's attacks, or using that speed for the burst range and straight up attacking the opponents. Whereas in my opinion, the speed really shines when he can use it to reposition properly. And that's exactly what you highlighted. The blazing end isn't less strong because it can be intercepted. It's less strong because if it fails, now Sonic has so much speed to set up exactly the positioning that Sonic wants to play the neutral in.
Exactly. I definitely agree with what you were saying before. I think in this instance, even at those high percents, it might be worthwhile for Selkie to switch to the Mythra, provided he feels comfortable in doing so. Switch to the Mythra, keep up with that mobility of Super Striker and his Sonic, and just try to find a few more of these kind of errant hits here and there, intercept and understand Super Striker's movement. Anyway, going on to game 2, we've seen the swap instead to Palutena. Palutena having done a lot of work for Selkie so far in this bracket.
Yeah, Jeremy, give me your opinion. Why do you think the Palutena switch is coming out here? Because I felt like the Mythra speed especially was doing a lot of work in keeping up with Sonic.
I would say maybe it's just because of comfort thing. Maybe, the early gimp coming out from Super Striker, that is huge. Now, of course, being able to play with this gigantic lead, he doesn't have to commit, he can play at his own pace.
That was huge, like you said. Super Striker taking a little bit of a dive off stage, but making it back quite easily. And now we have the opposite of what we saw in the first game, where Sonic has a major lead. So knowing Super Striker, and I mean, I've played him, I've seen him play plenty of times now, he's just gonna play it slow. Just disengage, try to charge that spin dash, make sure you get those invincible anti-approaches, and make it very hard for your opponent to get a solid hit in. And Super Striker, the good thing, or the nice thing about his Sonic, is that he doesn't just cack. He mixes in a fair amount of aggression, but the way he aggresses, he makes sure that the hits that you get are just kind of like one-off punches, right? So you might get a Becker here, or you might get like a forward tilt, but they're never those big crucial combo starters or big crucial kill moves. It's always just chip damage on him, and because he accepts the risk of that chip, he gets that much more freedom to make the opponent scared of not just a camping Sonic, but also an aggressive Sonic and a whip punishing Sonic. So far though, Selkie, a little bit of a deficit, not gonna lie, but finding that up air very big. Sonic's juggle state, not the greatest. Palutena, of course, one of the best juggling characters in the game, finding that up air at about 110 and finding a KO with it. Now a nice nair string into the back air, finding his footing quite well. Selkie back in the game right now.
Yeah, one of the key things with Palutena versus Sonic is she has so many long-lasting active attacks. Excellent back air coming out from Super Striker right there, maintaining this lead as much as possible. but those long-lasting active hitboxes of Palutena kind of make it difficult at times for Sonic to invade her zone of control. We've seen that a lot, and of course, those moves, misses the tech, but still makes it back.
Yep, amazing recovery right there, just making sure they're still in it. And right now, Super Striker just looking so commanding, throwing on the sports matches, does not care much. With this lead, if he finds that KO, it's gonna be curtains. And that is something that Super Striker does do that personally I'm not much of a fan of, is when his opponent's in kill percents, he's just going to be looking for that final hit, right? The back air on the ledge jump, we saw it succeed in the previous stock, now it's no longer happening. The forward smash is again an approaching back air, just constantly looking for that final hit. And normally I would say, hey, that's not the best choice, but with a lead like this, you can do it. Like, there's not enough risk, and even if you do get punished for it, you still have a solid enough lead, and it's going to be hard for Selkie to consistently avoid every single attempt, including something like the spring, covering that 2-frame, hard to tech, especially on Wi-Fi, and just like that, Super Striker, up 2-0. Very well done.
Yeah, I think that that very early gimp at the start of the game kind of set the tone for the entirety of that game. I wouldn't be surprised if Selkie actually still stuck with the Palutena, knowing that, you know, if I can avoid that gimp happening again, if I can make sure to actually get those techs, I can play the game that I want to. You know, Palutena is a character who infamously has done well infamously does incredibly well versus most of the cast. That's just kind of the nature of how Palutena is. Very few of her matchups are truly difficult. There are, of course, some where she needs to kind of reevaluate some of the approaches to her game plan, but for the most part, this character doesn't have any matchups that are incredibly hard for her. And, you know, that stability, I think, is what allows a lot of these Palutena players to succeed in both online and offline environments.
I agree. I think the flip side of that is a little bit less explosiveness than a lot of the other top tiers have, right? So she has very consistent kill options. The back throw, of course, the explosive flame if you're asleep, the up air being an amazing jump call out, an amazing juggle tool in general. Down air could be a tool as well, but overall, like nothing too surprising. And that could be a big deficit against Sonic, and I think Selkie might agree because we're back to the Pyra Mythra.
As we saw once again the Photon Edge trying to come out once again to stuff that spin dash, but this time Super Striker executing it from a bit of a different distance.
Yep, and just like that, we have a game right now. Selkie in the lead, looking quite comfortable so far.
Yeah, we're seeing a lot more focus on the Mythra. That is definitely helping out with this start so far for Selkie.
For sure, and right now, Selkie just kind of chilling on the platforms. I like that. Sonic can struggle to pressure platforms. He can get in a spin dash poke, something like a landing up air, but nothing that will actually threaten you too much on a platform unless you spend like the entire game on the platform, of course. So far, Selkie's slower game pace, definitely a big fan of that decision. Pyra, again, like you said, looking for those calculated risks. Not quite getting the hit. Super Striker answering back with some patience, but just like I said, he struggles to pressure the platforms. Has to commit to the spin shot, misses, and gets punished dearly. And now Selkie, again, just like game one, in a lead.
Yeah, I think that top platform has been paying dividends for Selkie already in this game. Definitely want to see him stick to that platform, just kind of maintain that game plan and see how Super Striker is able to adapt to it and then go from there, because it's been working out so far. I'm definitely somebody who believes in the idea of keep doing if it's working until it stops working.
Yeah, 100% agree. However, at this point, it's hard to argue results. Selkie looking pretty strong. The downer into up smash, not quite a KO, but the damage is wrecking, almost lapping his opponents in percents so far. Selkie on the ledge does manage to make it off. Super Striker not quite looking for the KO just yet. We saw a cheeky little forward tilt, not enough to end it, and now Selkie just straight back to the top platform, waiting for the right opportunity. The spring pushing him into the air. Super Striker in an advantageous position to roll back. Like we said before, Virum, he's looking for that KO as soon as it's available. Oh, and there.
Very nice decision to reverse the Prominence Revolt. bring Super Striker down with him. Not often do you see that get the suicide KO, if just because the knockback of that downward strike is really, really weak in comparison to its similar moves like from Soaring Slash and Ike's Ether.
Yeah, and the crazy thing is that is ultimate mechanics, right? So when you get spiked, the blast zone moves to the camera line, right? So instead of the lower blast zone, you get spiked as soon as you hit the lower edge of how deep the camera can go. So that's gonna help Selkie a lot. Now actually lapping his opponent's in percents just about, and again working those platforms, playing Pyra still, I assume because of the bigger hitboxes, helping out with that platform camping a little bit. And so far, Super Striker hasn't really found an answer. Backer though, coming through, nice advantage take. Quarter pressure, gets the punish on the photon edge, and that's exactly what Super Striker needed. That was some psychic level stuff, just charging the forward smash way before the photon edge even came out. And the fully charge was gonna push it far enough to get the KO. That's crazy. Super Striker just out here making the exact play that he needed.
Yeah, massive read on that forward smash. I think the main thing as well, on top of that forward smash, Super Striker's doing a good job finding a lot more of these back airs, just pressuring that top platform a lot better. So now that strategy for camping the top platform isn't working quite as effectively, how will Selkie adapt from there? So far, still maintaining that lead, but bit by bit, it's gradually getting dwindled.
Yeah, I'm scared, Viren, because I remember game one. I remember Selkie when Selkie had a lead, and it wasn't enough. And so far, Super Striker has the momentum, catches the double jump back to the stage. No gimp, but the pressure is real. Jumping over that blazing end again. This time, a straight grab, just holding on to this advantage. Time and time again, the top platform has been found. Selkie using it to get off the top platform, and immediately gets punished. Just no pause. And everywhere Selkie goes, there's Super Striker, the forward air coming through in a big way. Super Striker is gonna advance into loser semis with a 3-0 victory.
Excellent turnaround coming out throughout that whole game by Super Striker, really kind of adapting to the strategies that Selkie had in place in that early game. And I think a lot of what it came down to as well was we saw less Mythra coming out from Selkie. When Selkie was using the Mythra in the early stages, they were racking up a lot of damage, they were able to control the pace a lot better, but when they were primarily focused on the Pyra, he wasn't able to find those critical hits, he wasn't able to play at the pace that he wanted, and that gave Super Striker the opportunity to adapt and control the flow of the game in his favor. Excellent stuff, moving on to loser semis.
Yep. And I couldn't have said it better myself. I think the critical factor here was that balance between playing Mythra and playing Pyra. And that just goes to show that the character is still a little bit new, right? People might be making the wrong judgment on which character they should be going, right? Especially against a character like Sonic. It makes sense, right? You want big hitboxes, you have Blazing End, which controls horizontal space, something that Sonic is very good at. You KO very early, which kind of counteracts or kind of capitalizes on the fact that Sonic himself struggles to KO. And overall, it makes sense on paper, but then you look at the practice and the theory kind of falls apart because of that speed. And it's just that one factor that comes in so big in this matchup, in my opinion. However, I did like Selkie's play. We saw a game one that went very back and forth. Game two, tried out the Palutena. I like that. I think being confident in your other characters is very important. Everyone who plays multiple characters knows one of the most heart-wrenching things is losing a set because you didn't switch characters, right? So